And so here in this case, for the best top laner, Zeus and Ben obviously are our top two. I think by far, clearly they've been great.
Not for Yamato. That's not what he said earlier.
Not for me.
Keen as well was another one.
Keen had a great year.
Breathe had a great tournament. I think that, if you're a big tournament, showing up at the right time, I think that's good. Who else? What are some other names in there that we want to see in this, accolade gathering moment?
I mean, I think if we're talking about this tournament specifically, I think Zika would be the fifth.
All year. This is for everything all year.
Yeah.
I mean, Zika was good. I mean, for all year, I mean, I guess you have to put Doran in there, even though I hate him. Yeah. I mean, I think you probably have to, right?
He won another title.
He proved us wrong.
His Jax was feared in LCK.
It was.
He was kind of like the Jax guy.
Billy Bandit too. 2 games.
Yep. I don't think it was a great year for 369. I think BB deserves kind of a shout. I think BB actually did pretty well considered like international and how he played domestically. Like I thought he clutched up. So
our two boys from NA, do we give them the nod in the ecosystem for Impact or Whippo?
No.
Okay. Nah, but Whippo's MSI was too bad. And
I mean, he also was probably in my mind one of the reasons why they lost in spring. So
all right, so our top 5: Zeus, Bin, Keen, Zika, Doran. Is there anyone else, Yamato, that you feel like's missing here?
No, I think like the other names, right? It's
BB.
BB is a good shout. I would probably slot in BB there because I think like Zika was good in summer, I would say, and also at Worlds. But LNG was largely uninteresting in spring. Like that's the weird one, right? It's like there's so obvious periods. Like Breathe was on RNG before, and then had a slow start on Weibo. So it's like it also like that one you can't slot in there, right? It's like there's just so many holes everywhere when you move past like the top 3. So I think it's just a question of flavor. But I really like the BB shot because I think he had a really good year. Like he had a good MSI, good Worlds. He was good the entire year. Like
unique champion pool too. I mean, he played unlike anyone else, which was nice to see.
Okay,
we have to shoehorn him in. Like he needs to be in the top 5, I think, BB.
All right, so Zika out, BB in. So BB, Doran, Keen, and then let's vote. Who gets it here? Is it Zeus? Is it Ben for this year?
I think it's for the year. I think that there's no way I could say anyone had a better year than Bin as a top laner.
Ben was very close to getting MVP of summer as well. Like he was definitely in the conversation. Like Tien got it for LPL, but Ben was definitely in the conversation, and I think was such an outstanding player on BLG throughout that whole split. I mean, throughout the whole year, right? But I think his performance at Worlds was absolutely amazing, as we've already discussed at length on this show. I think he's his MSI. The thing about Zeus is like Zeus. Now we can argue that this may have been a weak point in strategy from T1 because they just blind picked him constantly, but he spent a lot of this year just like blind picking Twisted Fate and struggling. I think he had a great Worlds, but I don't think that the problem with putting any T1 player in any of these conversations outside of maybe Keria, but Keria even had some really rough spots in summer, is that they just weren't consistent enough over the entire year compared to a lot of other players. And I think Zeus falls into that as well.
One thing I wanted to just say is you have to think about how a lot of these top laners tournaments ended. Like think about how Keen's tournament ended, right? He makes the flash pick onto Faker, and then his AD carry walks into Skarner ult and he loses the game. Like this is like what he did in his he makes the game winning play.
In
and
his
then they lose the game, and it's like
game ever, he is playing out of his mind on this champion, and then
he's completely. I mean, I just like to try to make people view it from the player, where it's like Bin makes like the Jax play at River, they lose the game. This guy makes like the Poppy pick onto Ari that should be game winning, and it's like, I guess Pays walk.
Well, I would say Keen is actually number 2 over the entire year as well, because remember he was actually the MVP of the spring finals because of his game 5 performance in that series.
He completely clapped him. in a
Yeah.
matchup that was supposed to be fine. It was supposed to be a fine matchup for Zach.
So
And-
I think if you're taking the entire year, I would say Bin and then Keen actually, and then Zayas.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't even think there can be an
100%.
argument. How can you argue for Zeus to be better
I'm
than
sure
Keen
the
over there?
T1 fans will find a way.
I just want to add more ammunition into the bin pocket because I think like his MSI, it's
Yes.
always just like the winners write the story, but his MSI, that was like one of the craziest top lane individual performances of all time, I think. It's like what he did to make that Genji series competitive when Genji was so much better than BDB at that point in time. Like Genji was just so far and beyond better than everybody on that patch. It was like Aurelion Sol, Corki, they were dropping Yon and Carlos ahead of everybody else. They have mastered like they figured out the game on that patch. And Bin actually made it competitive with like his Camille play. Like that entire tournament in terms of how Bin played against T1 too, and like the T1 series that they both won, that somehow everybody forgets too. And I think another thing that is so important, I think that in terms of top lane and LPL, in my opinion, is just far more competitive. And I think the majority of people don't watch LPL, but it's like if you look at the list of top laners that come out of Korea, right? It's like
LCK's top
Zeus.
laners this split this year were shit. Like
Yeah,
it's
so
not a
like,
competitive.
You have
position.
Keen Zeus, and then Doran, King,
And then you have like perfect. Oh,
It's like, and then it's like you look
Clear
at
is
the
like
list of
okay.
names. List of names in LPL, right? It's like 369, Breathe, Zika, Bin. You know, it's like I think just top lane in LPL is insanely fucking competitive.
I mean,
And
even
I think
Sheer, like the debut of rookies was really good.
Sheer was really good. Zhao Lao, who was like pretty fucking insane in spring. I mean, we have some top laners over there that deserve recognition.
Shanji had his moments, but
yeah, Shanji.
No, it's like for me, I think Bin far and beyond. I think it's just always like the people that write the story are always like the winners are always like representatives. I have to argue. It's like, oh, so T1 won. They are the best players in each role. It's like last year, I think was very, very different because Zeus, what he did 2023, he was picking Yon, Jace, Aatrox, was completely body 1v9ing. His role was very different this year on T1. This year it's like he did a good job of like outplaying the dice mechanically, right? And then just being, you know, solid and maintaining that. But in terms of what Keen and Zeus needed to do for their team to succeed in terms of the circumstance they're in, because I want to follow up on Dom's example. It's like the Poppy slamming the Ahri into the wall and Ahri getting Skarner ulted is the equivalent of, imagine if Faker steals Rakan ult, ease onto Rakan and charms two people, and then Poppy just fucking ults air, misses completely, and just goes into the turret. Like that's the equivalent of that circumstance. That's
And then T1 loses the game. Yeah.
That's the equivalent, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the case has been made for Bin. This is probably the most one-sided award we'll give out.
He was good the whole year, including in the finals. Like normally you don't have a position in the finals like of tournaments where both people play this well.
Yeah.
It's always like, oh, this guy kind of outplayed the other guy. Like you kind of, even like winners, losers, whatever, you kind of know who got the best of each other. But in this best of 5, it's like, I don't know, like they showed why they're the two best top laners of all time, in my opinion.
All right. Well, there it is. Our top lane Power Spike Award. Bin, Keen, then Zeus, and then afterwards we had Doran and BB. We got some Western representation on in there.